All right, let us get to the co-main event now, where we got a striker's delight in the middleweight division with Shara Magomedov coming in at minus 320, going up against Michel Pereira, who comes in at plus 270. Starting off on the Magomedov side, I think it's pretty clear that it's maybe the worst kept secret in mixed martial arts that Shara Magomedov cannot fight in the U.S., or at least he can't fight in North America, which is why you often see him fighting in these Middle Eastern countries, because he can get away with that eye issue that he has, right? I'm pretty sure it's a dead eye that he's dealing with, which will not be passed by commissions in North America, but we know we can do a little bit shadier things in the Middle East. So often when you see him fighting for the UFC, it is in the Middle East. Now, he was able to successfully bounce back from that loss that he had to Michael Venom Page. That was his first ever mixed martial arts loss, and that's a fight where we saw when he faced somebody who's a little bit technically superior in the striking realm and kind of knows how to deal with Magomedov's Muay Thai style, that's where Magomedov was going to struggle. He was whiffing that air a lot. Page was countering him effectively. He was dancing around in the cage a lot and really just causing the Russian a lot of issues there. But then when we saw a guy that's more willing to engage in the pocket with Magomedov, that's where we saw Magomedov have more success when he took on Marc-Andre Barriault. Now, Barrio really struggled to get to his game, right? He is a guy that would thrive of like kind of pushing opponents in the clinch and kind of wearing them down with some dirty boxing. But Magomedov thrives in the clinch, right? He's a guy that loves his Muay Thai. He loves his knees. He loves his elbows. He loves to make things dirty and close. And I thought that was just a bad matchup for Barrio to have much success of his own. I don't think Magomedov is as good as odds often make him seem, but it seems like the UFC is content with giving him favorable matchups. Even, the MVP fight, maybe that was one they thought where he didn't have to deal with wrestling, and he might have been able to land bigger shots than the kickboxing point style of Michael Page, but it just didn't work out for him that night. But he, like I said, he was able to get back onto the winning track with that win over Marc-Andre Barriault. Nasty kicks, nasty knees, nasty elbows. Defensive grappling is obviously improving at a decent enough rate, but you don't put him up against Bo Nickel or something like that. You know what you're getting with Shara, and you put him in these Middle Eastern cards so you can go out there and showcase in front of those guys. Do they give him the Conor treatment and just give him strikers all the way up into a title shot? That remains to be seen. But when you have a guy like Chimaev, who is the champion, you got a striker in Sean Strickland now who's a champion. So maybe there is a path for a guy like Magomedov to get there, but he's going to have to start racking up some wins a lot quicker, especially with him being 32 years old. Now, he's going up against, surprise, another striker here in Michel Pereira, who was able to snap a 3-fight losing streak last time, as he was able to pick up a very sketchy and close split decision win over Zachary Reese. I believe it was a split decision. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But he had that, he had a very good winning streak. I think it was an 8-fight winning streak. He had an 8-fight winning streak from 2020 to 2024, leading into his main event slot against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, where he got absolutely brutalized and finished in the 5th round of that fight. He tried bouncing back against Abus Magomedov, but he had a very flat performance, right? I talked about it earlier when I was breaking down the Magomedov fight, where we got a very muzzled and weird performance from Pereira. That was a fight where I believe I was pretty heavy on Pereira because I thought he'd be able to put an aggressive style on Magomedov and find the knockout, but he just let Magomedov fight Magomedov's game. And he kind of just cruised. I remember the commentary team was like, this is the most muzzled we've ever seen Pereira. And that's the last thing you want to hear when, Pereira was probably one of the bigger plays that I had on that card. It almost reminded me of when Francis Ngannou tried coming back from his beatdown that he had received courtesy of Stipe Miocic. If you guys remember, his next fight was against Derek Lewis, and that was being marketed as one of the scariest and craziest heavyweight fights of all time, considering the knockout power that both those guys possessed. And then it turned out to be one of the flattest performances from either guy we got, and Francis ended up losing a decision that night just because he was too gun shy. And I think that's may have what happened to Pereira going into that Magomedov fight. And then he follows that up by getting quickly knocked out by Carl Dawkins in August, I believe that was. So very, very bad run there for Pereira. And then even against Zachary Reese, he just did not look himself. He did not look all that great. He didn't look like the guy that we've come to know through that 8-fight winning streak that he had. And it's just been very sketchy in terms of what form of Pereira we're going to get. It's been very poor as of late. But if he's ever going to show out, if he's ever going to try to show us a side of his game that, trying to prove himself that he's one of the better strikers in the UFC still, this would be the matchup for him to do it against Shara Magomedov. Now, this is a fun fight, right? You got the Muay Thai styles of Magomedov, and then you got the crazy capoeira striking style of Pereira. Both guys are going to be looking to be a little bit flashy. They're both going to be trying to show off their ego here, showcasing that they're the better striker. But I still, at the end of the day, find myself going with the Russian. He's a little bit more reliable to go out there and give us his style. Good kicks, good knees, good elbows. The explosivity and athleticism of Pereira could make this thing a little bit more interesting, but given his recent form, I'm not all that confident in him going out there and showcasing something crazy. But I'm always skeptical in terms of playing Magomedov at chalk at minus 320. Here's the other side of the thing. Pereira could flash some of his grappling chops, right? We know he has a submission game if he really wants to lean on it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's actually going in and tries to shoot for a takedown here and there. I think he'll fail on most of those attempts, but knowing that he has that in his back pocket, it kind of deters me from that confidence that I have in Magomedov here. So all in all, I'm going to go Magomedov. I think Magomedov outstrikes Pereira here, wins this fight on the scorecards, but I don't like playing a guy like Magomedov at minus 320, just like I don't like playing a guy like Sadikov at minus 240 at chalk either. So I'm going to go Magomedov here at moderate confidence, and I'm going to go Magomedov by decision.